Marie Enyemete Ibikake, representing the wonderful people of Brass Nembe Federal Constituency and from Bayelsa State. Mr. Chairman, Co-Chairman, I rise to second the motion that JAMB should be excluded in receiving grants. Apart from that, an addition, they should. I saw second.
Opportunity to use this same platform to explain certain things in order not to give wrong impression of the board. For instance, about issues raised about food, we are not spending 1.1 on food and so on. We need to explain that. We provide.
When you bring the full details of your expenditure and everything, we'll be able to make a judgment out of it.
My fear is that the press will go with this wrong Chairman, sir, it is Chairman, it's important for me so I have integrity, I have my name, and for it will be unfair to me to say all these things on public about me, given the sacrifice I've made. I think it is important, sir.
I'm Oshimole from representing Edo North. I joined in the amplifying the point made by my deceased brother that work with 1 billion cannot be miscellaneous. We need to have the details. But I also feel that the guys who are paying these, the source of revenue, they are the sons and daughters of people who are grossly underpaid. So raising revenue for candidates who are seeking admission or whatever, for me is something we need to look at. Should we impose more punishment on people who, because in most cases, they have to fall back on few privileged people, businessmen, and in particular politicians, to say, I can't afford to pay XYZ, can you pay for me? I think that JAMB should be sensitive to the reality of the country as it is today, that we are not supposed to put more burden on the children of the poor who attend universities. So for me, it's not something to celebrate, because it's like deepening the challenges that the poor are already facing. Now, that said, I look at how you spend the money, and I have huge challenges. For example, you go to number 13 and 14 on page 13. I see here local travels and transport orders, 600 million. Then 14 with asterisk, local travels and transport training, 6.4 billion. Now, if you add the two, it becomes 7 billion. Which, how can you have two categories of local travel? Is it one within Kaduna, within Abuja, and the other one within Nigeria? How is it? So, because what I found from all the agencies is that huge resources are spent on training, and training will ask for the specific content of those training and who benefit from the training, and cross it over the total sum. You find that this cannot be justified. Not at the time when we are borrowing to fund our budget. Then I look at some of the items, they are almost one and the same. You're spending 850 million naira for security. I don't know whether you are entitled to security vote. Cleaning and fumigation, 850. Even if you live in a farm, you need this kind of money to, what are you fumigating? I guess snakes? or mosquitoes that we consume this amount? Because for me, this is the problem we face about throwing so much money on issues that cannot be verified. Just like local government grading rules, and when you ask them, they say it fell after. And so you cancel it. Then refreshment. Refreshment and meals, 1.1 billion naira. Are you entitled to be fed by government? Are your workers being freely fed? Now, these are huge numbers. When you take them together, you realize that you are spending for what you are generating for poor students, some of them orphans. Then we need to be more critical about how you spend. My general impression is that there is a level of luxury spending and things that are neither here or there. I see here, and I think next time we should have the privilege of having these documents in advance so that we can do proper now you have staff housing scheme, 1 billion. Is the federal government still providing housing? What happened to Obasanjo's monetization policy? So you are building housing, you are into construction? And if you do, are your staff members not entitled to housing allowance? Is it not built into the salary system? Then you have another loose word, staff welfare. I was going to assume that the 1.117 billion that you are spending on refreshment and meals is part of the welfare. But I will need to be educated about the meaning of staff welfare, which is 1.2 billion. And don't misunderstand me, anything that goes to the real workers, I have no problem. Except that when you go to the definition of staff and who benefit from this quote and unquote welfare, the outcome might be totally different. Then the last one, page 14, you have construction of cubicles, furniture, and supply installation and networking of 1, computer systems. I'm like, what is the lifespan of a computer? Do you buy them every year? If we look at your last year expenditure, these items were there. Then you have a procurement of office equipment, 120 million. What happened to the one you procured last year and the year before? What is the lifespan of this equipment? What is your depreciation policy? And lastly, Chairman, so I don't take too much time, procurement of utility vehicles. Is this utility vehicles pool cars or stars for car? I mean for staff, because you know one of the problems I've seen in public service is that in 1 year we monetize compensations. As a senator, I am not entitled to a personal car because my salary has been monetized. And then you have utility cars. And when we go into the details, these are cars that the managers will use. They are not in the pool. They are assigned to officers in clear violation of the monetization policy. But if there's something that goes down to level 8, level 9, level 10, level 12, I have no problem. But usually this is something that jumps over around the MD, the level 17, level 13, a few privileged people. And what about what happened to the ones you procured last year, the year before, or 3 years before? What is the depreciation policy, even if we are to assume that they are poor cars? So on the whole, when I look at your expenditure, you spend as if you are in Saudi Arabia. Because the resources that you are drawing is from people who can hardly pay it.
Thank you, one distinguished. Thank you very much.
Please permit me to call attention to the guideline that we are asked to bring the Establishment Act, which we have done, and then the 2025 revenue, as well as the strategies and sources of revenue, including the budget proposals. And we have duly submitted those. But In the presentation at the beginning, it appears some amendment to what was sent to us was made, because some of the things not requested on paper were mentioned by the chairman. I have the privilege, I think, of having to go before another committee. That's the Committee on Tertiary and Third Fund. And I am supplementing what I've given you with what I want to present, therefore making available from the other material to supplement those things that were not formally requested from us. Mr. Chairman, sir, if you allow us, after this meeting, those things not formally requested but mentioned by the co-chair, we can submit them later. I would therefore go with what we have been requested formally to present, which we have here. I'm here with the Director of Finance, and on this is so I'm just jostling between the two, but let me keep myself within the one you requested for formally. We on page 1, we have the table. On page 2, we have the demanded act, which we have presented, and that goes up to.
Go to page 13. Let's start from your details.
Sir, thank you, sir. And on page 13, we have the sources of IGR, registration of UTME, registration for direct entry, services on e-facility, consultancy, and miscellaneous. This comes to 19,860,000,000. And the federal government personnel grant direct centrally paid is 6,638,550,716. And on that page 13, we have the expenses, and going up to page 14, and remittance, operation surplus remittance to CRF is 4 billion naira, and as agreed with the budget office. On the issue of assumptions, we have UTME 2.1 and DE 60,000. The registration fee is 3,005. That is what JAMB collects. That is not the fee, because many people, because they have to pay to the other charges like the books they will buy, like payment to the CBT centers and so on. This is other expenses, but what comes to JAMB is 3,500 naira per candidate. Mr. Chairman, co-chairman, thank you, sir.
So they are not fully funded. They are not
self-funded, but for salary, the federal government pays the salary.
Why can't you pay your salary?
We can, but
So we take you out of budget.
we can, but I would suggest that you do not do so.
No, you reduce your cost. Reduce your cost and get yourself funded. Pay your salaries.
We
will
can,
not allow anyone for salaries.
we can, Mr. Chairman, sir.
Instead of you giving us 4 billion and we're giving you 6 billion, take your 4 billion and pay your salaries.
We don't mind that, but
so,
permit me,
sir, we are not debating it. I'm sorry. Take your 6 billion, take your 4 billion, which you wanted to release, and save yourself and pay your salaries. Give you what your police knows. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Next, yes.
the chairman of the Fiscal Responsibility Commission.
These are conditions, but there is no basis for concurrence like what they generated in 2024 so that we can be able to advise. Sir, there is no basis for comparison. What they generated in 2024 to qualify for their 2025 projection. You sure of that? That's my observation.
So, okay, in that case, I think
Mr. Chairman and co-chairman, very distinguished colleagues, invited guests. Mr. Chairman, I have an issue with the sources of revenue. Okay, if you look at the 5 major miscellaneous source of revenue is over 1.1. Meanwhile, the major sources of revenue like administration, consultancy are not as high as that. The implication of this is that if the miscellaneous source of revenue is higher than the major sources of revenue, that miscellaneous automatically becomes a major source of revenue. Meanwhile, you have not also given us a breakdown of these miscellaneous sources. We want to know what the miscellaneous sources of revenue are. And then we also want to know how you can grow these miscellaneous sources because they are even more than 2 of the major sources of revenue. Yeah. Thank you.
Please move that JAMB be excluded from the budget in terms of revenue appropriation to JAMB. I so move. So who is seconded? Is there any seconder here? So there is no seconder. But are you seconded? But I've extended my overall. So why?
Colleagues, I remain Marie Enenete Ebikake, representing the wonderful people of Brass Nembe Federal Constituency and from Bayelsa State. Mr. Chairman, Co-Chairman, I rise to second the motion that JAMB should be excluded in receiving grants. Apart from that, an addition, they should. I saw second.
The registrar just mentioned to the chair now that there are more information that is not in his possession at this moment. And for us to be able to consider such a motion, it will be in the best interest of the committee to see all the details, the performance, just to give a fair hearing, to see the performance, what he has performed last year, 2024, and what his projection is for 2025. So in my opinion, or in the opinion of the chair, should we suspend the motion until when we have this information? In the opinion of the members and distinguished members and honorable members that will show it. So, registrar, you have been said that, but the motion is still pending. That instead of you giving the federal government 4 billion, it's better federal government leave the 4 billion for you and you take care of all your expenditures. So with this, we will expect you to give us full detailed information. And this is what we said. This is also what the Minister of National Planning mentioned in his remarks. The need for us to be very transparent and to present detailed information of our revenues. So with this, we will call you back waited these 3 days to go and defend your budget properly.
Sir, with due respect, sir.